Okay, gents. So I want to begin our discussion this morning as follows. The Rambam, in the laws of fasting, writes the following. There's fasts that are set in the calendar in connection with tragedies that happened in our history, basically all revolving around our exile, the destruction of the first Beis Mikdash, the second, and a long and bitter exile. But there are also fasts that the sages need to enact in times of tragedy, times of need, famine, there's no water, or tragedy of other kinds, calamities. So the Rambam says there in his whole discussion of how to respond to a tragedy, a catastrophe, he says that if a person responds, his attitude towards these things is mikra nikris, which means things happen. Things happen. Earthquakes happen. There are faulty lines. There are faulty genes. There are children that are born, God forbid, and buildings can collapse. So if this is the attitude, Rambam uses a very interesting response. He says, such an attitude, now you would think, what would he say? If a person thinks this way, that's his attitude, then he's denying providence. He's denying Hashem's role. You'd think that's what the Rambam would say. It's a denial of providence and a denial of a foundation of our faith that Hashem governs the world. Now, although I think he makes that point, but he adds the following. He says, Hareze derech echzorius. It's cruel. It's cruel. Why would it be cruel? So the simple reason is, it's cruel because the person in that case is not motivated to do teshuvah, not him and not the community. So things will continue. So he's only inviting, God forbid, the continuation of it, because there's no responding. A little bit deeper, it's cruel. It's cruel even to the ones to whom the tragedy happened. Because if we don't respond, then the meaning of their death, to which has to affect us because we're all one great spiritual body, and we're not allowing their death to affect us, then we are eroding the meaning. We're rendering it to that degree meaningless. And that isn't fair. It's cruel to them. What happened to them has to affect us because we are one people. It's my brother, it's my sister. We are limbs of one great body. And if we don't, we're cruel to them and we're cruel to ourselves because we're denying ourselves what we need to do, what we need to fix. And if we don't, there's consequences to that. We're not fulfilling our mission. We're not allowing them to complete and fulfill their mission. And we're not fulfilling our mission. There's nothing more cruel than that, than a meaningless life. Nothing sadder. So that's what the Rambam says, to say it happens. No, things happen in nature. It's sad, but nothing we can do about it. Nothing anybody can do. It's nature. This. That's cruel. So you have to respond. So with the outset, I would like to share, if someone has any other ideas. First, it was Miron. Then, in the shul, the stolen shul in Yerushalayim, the collapse of a scaffolding, and now Surfside. It's all around structures, buildings, walls. So we need to look. We need to look at our structures. And I want to suggest that we need to look at is there are walls that have to be there, and there are walls we have to tear down. What are healthy walls? Healthy walls are the walls of distinction between Shabbos, for example, and the weekday. It's a healthy wall, and it's got to be clear and strong. And I think everybody, I can talk of myself, everybody Just to use one example, and also kosher, not kosher. Another example of a healthy wall is tznius, is modesty. First of all, literal modesty, the body being covered. We don't cover the body because it's evil. On the contrary, we like to say for Torah, it's covered because it's sacred and it's not casually exposed. So tznius is an area of, and it's a very healthy thing. It's a very healthy, I'm just on a physical level, husband and wife, tznius. In the bedroom, I mean, imagine this, in the bedroom. That the body's not casual, you don't get used to looking at it, and it's not only very, like I say for Torah, it's an example, when it's taken out and exposed, very, very carefully. You know that in between aliyahs, we cover it. It's not exposed for a second longer than it has to be. When we lovingly read from it and make a bracha, baruch atah Hashem, who has given us the Torah, and then it's open. And it's open 3 columns, not more, not over, not less, because that's not respectful. There's all the halachas of how the Sefer Torah is to be handled, touched, and opened. And this is a Jewish body. So I'm just saying, in a physiological level, and certainly in a spiritual level, the idea of the coverings, these healthy walls of tznius, that's another area. We might want to look in our own lives and see whether we could fine-tune, upgrade. As I mentioned, Shabbos and kosher. We're all Shem Shabbos, we're keeping kosher, but we all know that, we could upgrade. It could be a finer distinction. I'm just talking, sharing a personal, so that's one area. Another area of tznius, of walls, by the way, is, a healthy wall is, not to look at somebody else's failure, or a place physically or a place emotionally where this person doesn't want you to look. Unless you're invited. If you're invited there because they want you to help or whatever, they want to share it, that's something else. But if you're not invited there, and this is a failing, whether it's emotional or physical, there's a wall, you don't look. That's respect, that's tznius. Tznius is not just the physical covering of the body, it's putting up coverings on that part of my friend, my spouse's life that they don't want to be seen unless I'm invited there. That's a huge thing, not to look at someone else's fault. Tznius. So these are healthy walls, and each one of us could think in other areas of our life where we've got to put these walls up. So many areas of life, chinuch. I'm just going to throw this out there a little bit. Education of children. A big problem today, friends, that I'm seeing is that nowadays we want to be friends with our children. We're afraid of them. We're afraid they won't like us. And because of that, we're failing often to parent. Nowhere does it says your children have to like you. They have to respect you. The like you don't have to worry about because they come from you and there's a natural love. If you act as a parent, a loving, devoted parent with borders and boundaries, they'll respect. And in that respect, that's the real cocoon where love can grow. And it's across the board where, we're losing it a little bit in terms of firm, putting down the rules, not negotiable. This is what it is. The child resists, but then the child accepts. And deep down knows it's the right thing and it's the good thing. And if not now, today they'll know, but tomorrow they'll know. So he says it's a healthy wall. No, we don't cross this line. We don't say this, we don't do this. This is what we do. This is how we behave. So many areas in life that we could think about that our structures, we have to revisit our walls, our structures. How healthy, how solid are they? How nurturing are they? Because structures are key to nurturing. It can't be open. It's got to be very protected and private. A home is a fortress. It should be. A palace. And then, of course, there's the unhealthy walls. The unhealthy walls have to come down. That's the unhealthy walls of divisiveness, of arguments, of feeling superior, or whatever it is. You put up a walls between us and our fellow Jew. Cancelled in the new language of today's language. Cancelled out. I don't agree with you. You're out of my world. Those walls have to come down, and each one of us can certainly look there in our lives. People that we've been angry with, haven't spoken to, whatever. If you think, we just think for a few moments, you can't even imagine if they're alive, not alive, we don't know anymore. But what they've gone through, and heard the stories of a woman calling, "Don't forget about me, please, please," and then the voice stopped. They couldn't get to it. And we think about these things, how trivial our problems of when we get upset and broiges, they ought to shrink into. It should be embarrassing for us. It should be embarrassing. So this is an important message too. The walls we've put up that shouldn't be there, we've got to take them down. And as I said before, so the Rambam is saying, if we are not moved by this, we're just insensitive, cruel people. It's not fair. Not fair on them and not fair on us. So let us hope that we merit today, without delay, one of the great prophecies when Mashiach comes is, Jerusalem will dwell without a wall around it. It'll be open. You need a wall around the city to protect it from the enemy. There's no enemy anymore. And from Yerushalayim will spread love and light and holiness to the whole world. So that's also a positive wall that will come down that's not required. I think I told you that one of the couples there, so Tzvi Daniel Ben Yehudis. So he was a person, part and parcel of my growing up as a child, as a teenager. And he was from Sydney, but he came to Melbourne to come first to the high school and then Yeshiva Gedola. And they're just part of my youth. I hang out in the Yeshiva Gedola, and he was part of it. His wife's a Montreal girl. She grew up. She's a Felix. She grew up across the street from the Chama. The childhood years. I mean, even when you have a tragedy, it's like, we should feel this way whether you know the people or not. But human nature is when you know the people and you know their children, their family and the parents, it brings it home. It just makes the responsibility greater to be moved by it. So related to this, friends, at the end on a very positive note, Be'ezer Hashem. So this week's Haftorah, as you know, is the first, from now to Rosh Hashanah, it's 10 weeks. The first 3 Shabbosim are divided into 2, 3 and 7. So the first 3 Shabbosim are part of the 3 weeks. This is the first Shabbos of the 3 weeks. And we read in the Haftorah, usually the Haftorah reflects simply what was read in the Parsha that week, but not for the next 10 weeks. The next 10 weeks, the Haftorah reflects the time in the calendar, although there's always a connection to the Parsha, if you probe deeper. So that these 3 weeks are called 3 weeks of retribution, because the Haftorahs that we read, mainly from the book of Yirmiyahu, who Hashem foretold the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash and instructed him to tell the Jews that it's coming and they should avert it. Unfortunately, it fell on deaf ears, and the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. So the first prophecy is like this. Hashem tells him, look, what do you see? It's like a vision. She looks intently. Hashem, as I just told him, that the destruction is impending. It's happening soon. Waste no time. Tell the people. Look, to make the prophecy connected to this vision, this is what he says. So what do I see? So the prophet says, I saw a stick sprouting almonds. What's the significance? The significance is that almonds, from the time they blossom to become an almond, is very quick time. So Hashem is saying this is going to happen soon, very quickly. And moreover, the period is 21 days, which is the 3 weeks, 21 days. From the times that the Babylonians then breached the walls till the time that they set fire to the Beis Hamikdash, and then hundreds of years later, the same thing, the Romans breached the walls on the 17th of Tammuz, and 21 days later, they set fire to the Beis Hamikdash. So that's the significance of the almond. That's going to happen quickly. So the Rebbe asks like this, or explains. In Torah, everything is precise to the nth degree. There's many ways Hashem could tell him that it's going to be quick. Why is he invoking the shkedim? That's the Hebrew term, almonds. So the Rebbe answers like this. And it's so beautiful because here Hashem is the warning of, it's a prophecy of doom. And here the Rebbe reveals in the prophecy of doom, the blessing and the ultimate intent of all of it, which gives us tremendous encouragement. And what is it? It's all hinted to in the fact it's an almond. So the Mishnah it's a whole tractate that deals with the laws of tithing, Maasros, tithing, which foods have to be tithed, 10% given to the Levi and which not. And then the Kohen gets his share and so on. Many complex laws. So the Mishnah discusses almonds. The Mishnah makes the point that there's two kinds of almonds. There are almonds that at the beginning are bitter and the end, as they grow, they become sweet. They're not edible initially, they're only edible at the end. And then there are almonds which they get bitterer and bitterer as time goes on. So they're only edible in the very beginning. Mishnah makes the point that you only tithe edible food, that if you give it to the Levi and the Kohen, you can eat it now. So the almonds that become sweet at the end are only tithed at the end of the process. The almonds that are sweet or edible only in the early stages, that's when you tithe them. But after that, not edible, you don't give your 10% of it. It's not edible. So the commentaries explain that shoked, which means an almond, which is the word Hashem uses in the prophecy here, is the almond that is bitter in the beginning and sweet at the end, as opposed to the other one's called a luz. The other one that is bitter in the beginning, that is sweet in the beginning, it's bitter and bitter and bitter. It's not called shoked. That's called a luz. Two words for an almond, two different types of almonds. What's the word that Hashem uses here? Hashem uses that one that is bitter in the beginning becomes sweet. Hashem is saying and hinting to us that I'm talking about destruction and the temple's going to be destroyed and the suffering. But please know, this is not the final story. It's going to be transformed. This very almond that is sweet, not another one. This will become sweet, as only Hashem can do, through our teshuvah and through our responding, not cruelly to it all. We participate in the transformation from the bitterness to the sweet, from the tzara, in Hebrew tzara, which means a constraint, sorrow, to tzoyhar, which means light. The Nachash, the serpent, the arch symbol of the Yetzer Hara, becomes the choshen, the breastplate that the high priest wears. And so many examples of the same letters, of words that in one configuration are negative, in another one, they are positive. It's symbolized here, what we're talking about from bitter to sweet. And that's why he uses the symbolism to say it's coming quickly. He uses the symbolism of an almond, and also to say, you can quickly turn it around too and make it sweet. And then as he spoke to the people, it doesn't have to happen. Do teshuvah, listen to my words, and we'll turn this all around. They didn't. But we will, and they also did. They contributed. We're at the end of exile, like Yidden have gone through. The Rebbe says we've gone through teshuvah at the highest levels. So we're ready for the transformation, for the sweetness. And another point, another question and answer. Why was the vision of the almond on a stick and not on a branch? The whole point is to convey it's going to happen quickly. It's been 21 days. That's all conveyed by the almond. Fine. So I could see a vision on a branch. Why on a stick? It's a makel. It's a makel, it says. He saw a stick, which means it's cut off. It's like a walking stick. Or a stick that you use to hit the animals, whatever it is. A makel. So why not on a branch? The same thing would be accomplished. So the Rebbe explains the deep significance here. And the significance and the message here is that what is a stick? A stick was once upon a time a branch, but it's cut off. And then it becomes hard and fossilized. And then it becomes the hard stick by which to walk with, to lean on, or to strike. Actually, the makil is associated with striking. A branch, on the other hand, still connected to the tree. It's pliable, it's soft, it's not functionable. It's not something you use to strike or to prod or to hit. So these two stages of the wood as part of the tree or separate, represent the neshama before it comes down to the world, connected to the tree of life. That's the branch. And a stick is the neshama separate and sent down into the world. It's called hard world. The hard world. Another model would be Jews living at the time when the Beis Hamikdash existed and there was godliness revealed, and we feel connected to our source. That's a branch. And a stick cut off and hardened, that's a Jew in exile. Disconnected, misplaced, not home, and so on. Where's the vision? The vision is not on the almonds that grow on a branch, but on the stick. Hashem is saying, externally we're cut off, and Golus is terrible, and the soul coming down to the world is a tragedy. It was in heaven enjoying and basking in the presence of God. But which stick is stronger? Which one can strike if necessary and lead, and to be leaned on? It's the one that's cut off. Meaning it's only through the challenges that we face in exile. It's only through neshama coming down to the world that we really reveal the depth of who we are. That's where the deepest connection comes. And that's how the transformation of the bitterness and the sweetness will come. When we meet the challenge, we have all the questions, all the temptations. And despite that, we dig deep and we are committed and we observe the mitzvah and we don't succumb to the temptation. And we work on ourselves and we reach out to a fellow Jew. That's the true strength. And that's the true sweetness that will come. And we see this, of course, in everyday life. The only way to really develop your strength is when there's challenges. There's no challenges. We remain superficial and veneer thin. Physically in the gym, a person's going to go to the gym, he's very chacham. Why do I have to pick up heavy weights? He's going to pick up a lightweight. And it's much easier. Very good. So you'll have an easier time, but you're not going to grow. You're not developing anything. Only when there's resistance do you develop. If there's no resistance, you don't develop. In heaven, there's no resistance, and the neshama doesn't develop. It has a relationship with God, but it's not from the depth. Because nothing challenges it. So it understands, it loves, it's beautiful. But when is the real connection? It's when it's challenged. And the same is true in relationships as well. Now, if we talked about mikveh, the separation coming together, a relationship really only deepens when there's a hurt. When there was a hurt, when there was distance. Because then you're compelled, either it's over or you go deeper. An easy way is to say, okay, goodbye. That's the easy way out. You hurt me, I don't need this, I'm out of here. Or we dig deeper to a place where that hurt can't touch. And we start operating on that level. We bring out that level of commitment. And so these things will happen. By divine design, we're going to have these things in relationships. Hashem wants it because, Kindalach, go deeper, go deeper. With you, each other, with me too. So with Hashem too, there's, as we said the other day, sin's part of the plan. It's all he wants it. He really wants it, because if there's not going to be a sin and the teshuva, which follows the digging deeper, we're not really connected. We're friends. And doesn't want friends. Hashem wants our lover, soulmate. That's beyond friends. Which, if the relationship isn't beneficial, or partners, they walk away. True friends, Yedidim, Kol Doidi Doifek. Yedid is like a soulmate, a commitment. So therefore, again, why is the vision not a branch, but a stick that's separate, cut off from the tree? Because that's where the real depth happens. That's the real connection. That's where the almond from bitterness, from sweet to sweetness really happens. That's how transformation happens. When we don't feel inspired, when we have questions, when it's pain, and there we commit deeper and deeper, this is integral to turning it all around. And as the Rabbi would say, Givalde Bishter, what more do you want from your kindalach? They've shown it, they've done it. Showing. Turn it all around, turn the darkness into light, make the bitterness into sweet. In the fullest measure that we're reunited with our loved ones here in this world. And there's no more tears. Yeah, there'll be tears, but not tears of pain, but tears of joy. That's okay. That's okay. That we're waiting for. So may Hashem help as we are in these 3 weeks, that we allow ourselves to be moved, mamish, each one on their level, and that it should be good and revealed in Mashiach now, and only good things in a revealed way. Okay, my friends, have a wonderful Shabbos. Thanks for joining everybody.